Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. Of course, I am your host, Malynda. Thanks for tuning in. A big shout out to my Patreon supporters. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of my community for the last few months. If you're not a part of the Patreon community, make sure you go to patreon.com/Malynda Hale and get in on all the good stuff, special We Need to Talk episodes, cover songs, discussion groups, the whole nine yards. And we'll be shifting gears in just a couple of days going into the holiday season and going into the new year. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It was just me, my husband, and our daughter Sienna. Um, I wanted to be with my family, of course, and I hope everyone was safe despite feeling isolated and feeling apart. It's hard. I know it's hard, but I hope everyone was safe and had a wonderful Thanksgiving and did focus on things that they are thankful for in this year, like I talked about on last week's episode. So again, we only have a couple more episodes if we need to talk. Then we'll be back the second week of January with a bunch of really great guests and discussions and roundtables. So thank you again for being a part of this community, for wanting to be a part of the things that we're talking about constantly. And I'm looking forward to next year. I'm looking forward to next year in general because 2020 just needs to go. But this episode, I really want to talk to you about something that's very important to me, specifically around this time of year. And it's about supporting Black businesses and really uplifting Black entrepreneurship. So, we talk about support Black owned businesses so often. And some people are always like, well, why? Like, why do we need to support Black owned businesses? Well, of course, there's a myriad of reasons of why we need to. We're going to cover some of those today. But first and foremost, small businesses are a type of business that we all need to be supporting. I'm guilty of giving into the beast that is Amazon often. Obviously, I'm at home with an infant, and it's very easy to just go on Amazon and click and be able to buy and get your free shipping if you have Amazon Prime, and then you get the thing the next day. I get it. I'm guilty of it as well, but I do try to do my part in supporting Black-owned businesses and small businesses in general. But I do want to talk about specifically on this episode why supporting Black-owned businesses is so important. Um, you know, the Black community as a whole, we have been disenfranchised for such a long time. And because of our history, more people, specifically white Americans in this country, have kind of had a 400-year head start. So, when slavery ended, we weren't given our 40 acres and a mule. We weren't given any opportunities to have generational wealth. So when we say let's support Black owned businesses, specifically around the holidays, but you should do it year round, it's really to help, first and foremost, close that wealth gap, that racial wealth gap. When you trace, like I said, the origins of what today's racial wealth gap is, it goes back to Jim Crow era practices, with redlining and job discrimination. And when people were segregated, African Americans were not able to, Black Americans, but I'm not even say African Americans, but just Black Americans were not able to get the higher paying jobs. They weren't able to own land, have home ownership even, so they were ultimately prevented from acquiring any form of wealth building. And that's something that when you're supporting a Black owned business, that's what you're trying to minimize. You're trying to make sure, because if we're talking about being a part of a land where there is equal opportunity, where everybody has an opportunity to rise to the top of their fields or make a certain amount of money, be able to take care of their families, well, you have to support those businesses because, again, Black people did not have the head start that other Americans have had. Okay, and it's not to say don't support other minorities, of course. Support Asian owned business, support, Hispanic owned businesses, Latin owned businesses, But when we talk specifically about why supporting Black owned businesses is so important, it's because we're looking at the history of how Black Americans were treated in this country. And you're trying to help them get ahead because even with the resources being available to us and opportunities being available to us, every time we get ahead, everybody else is already 10 steps ahead of us. So we're just trying to close that gap, that racial wealth gap. Because I know for myself, even though I'm in an interracial marriage, for me, I want to build generational wealth for my daughter. My daughter in America is black, she's mixed, but she's a black woman. She's going to grow up to be a black woman. And I want her to be able to have some form of equity going into her adulthood to be able to pass down to her children. But I have had to work 10 times as hard to even get to where I am. And I'm not even anywhere close to where I want to be. But knowing that even having the opportunities that I have, whatever quote unquote talent I may have, or being able to build businesses, do things here, have opportunities here, I'm still so far behind where some of my peers and counterparts are simply because of the color of my skin. So when you're supporting Black businesses or supporting Black artists, you're helping close that racial wealth gap. Now, we also talk about just supporting local businesses in general. And when small businesses flourish, specifically, the communities around them do. So, when we're talking about building up Black communities, trying to get them out of poverty, trying to make sure that, the kids in those communities are growing up to be educated, or, the families around them are having everything that they need and the resources they need. When you support local businesses within Black communities, those communities thrive because those businesses are, you know? Um, there's a lot of talk about how banks treat Black businesses when it comes to loans. And there was a study that came out that said banks were twice as likely to provide business loans to white applicants than they were to Black ones. And you know they're three times as likely to have follow-up meetings with white applicants than more qualified Black ones, which is crazy to me. So when a Black business is able to jump through all of those hoops and get a business loan and start their business, it is important that we support it, because we're supporting the local economy that business is being built in. So, you know, um, it, I think the percentage of consumer spending accounts for maybe 70 to 80% of what the entire U.S. economy accounts for. So if we directed some of our spending power back into Black-owned businesses across the country, I mean, that would make a huge difference. And I mean, small businesses in general, those are who you want to support. We don't need to give our money to huge, and like I said, I'm guilty of it. We all are guilty of Amazon. It is convenient as all get out, but I try to do my part. It is very difficult, but sometimes I try to do my part. I try very hard. Um, but if we were able to turn the tables a little bit and patronize these smaller businesses, the economy would shift, and we would start to level the playing field a little bit. So just consider that when you are doing like your holiday shopping. Cyber Monday today, so you're gonna want to do that. I highly suggest supporting a small business, and preferably a Black business, because you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. You're supporting a small business, but you're also supporting Black entrepreneurship, which will help with the racial wealth gap, but also help with the economy and strengthen the local economies around those businesses. Um, in general, when you are supporting a Black-owned business, you're also helping with job creation. And I think that, I mean, small businesses in general, but a lot of Black business owners have to fund their own businesses because of the lack of capital. Like I talked about, they're not able to get the business loans, for example. So they have to figure out other ways to do it. But if you are patronizing that business, you're going to help also create jobs, because if they start to flourish, they're going to need the help. They're going to need the extra workers. And it's super important, because why wouldn't you want to help build jobs for other people, especially, in this country right now? After this pandemic and during this pandemic, the economy took a tank, obviously, and a lot of people are out of work. So if we're able to put dollars back into those small businesses, and specifically, like I'm going to keep saying, because that's what this is about, Black owned businesses, we're going to create jobs for people, and we're going to create an economy for people to go back to, that's, we're trying to build it back because it's broken right now. Um, we also want to change the unemployment rate for African Americans. And I know people are like, well, why do I only got to care about Black people? It's like, you don't. But it is past time that this country did do right by the Black community. And I think it's very important that we do our part to help that. And I mean, you guys, if you are listening, you are supporting a black business, because this is what I do. I'm a singer, I'm an entrepreneur, I own my own entertainment company, I do this podcast, I have my new project coming out, Black Voices Heard. By you listening, by you being a part of my Patreon community, or you streaming my music, you are supporting a black owned business, because my business is me. So I appreciate your support, and you're putting that, you're doing your part to help my local economy, because if I'm thriving and I'm doing well, I'm going to be able to help other people. And I've been able to hire people, and I've been able to give jobs to people. And it's been great because I have been supported. I'm still trying, like I said, I'm still trying to get to where I want to be. And I've been struggling with that lately. And it's hard, obviously. I think everybody's had the pandemic blues this year. But when you support Black owned businesses specifically, you are helping get rid of so many negative statistics about the Black community. And who wouldn't want to do that, you know? And also, you're going to help celebrate Black culture. You're telling Black entrepreneurs, you're telling young Black kids that, hey, if you want to do something, you will be able to do it. That, despite so many things in this country being pinned against you, you got people supporting you. Look at this person over there that started their own makeup line, or look at this person over there that started their own coffee company, so on and so forth. They're a Black owned business, and they jumped through all the hoops, and now they're successful and people are buying into it. So it's supporting a culture, and you're supporting a culture that serves the community. That is what is important. It's super important. Um, Also, you're holding other businesses accountable. You know, we it's hard, I know. Again, Amazon, guilty. Guilty is all get out. But it's hard to continue to preach about how, you know, these businesses just, the rich get richer, and we're not doing our part to make a difference, And we got to hold them accountable by saying, like, hey, if you guys, these big businesses, if you're not doing this, if you're not paying your taxes in this way, or if you're not giving back in any way, it's like, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. And we actually need to do it, because our dollars and our votes, they speak volumes. And I don't think we have fully realized that as a society. Our dollars speak volumes. If everybody didn't buy anything from Amazon from one day, I'm really curious what would happen. I mean, yes, Jeff Bezos has more money than the entire world put together, and it's ridiculous. That's a whole nother podcast. But it would be interesting to see how Amazon would react if everybody just didn't buy a single thing from Amazon and put all of that money and all of that convenience and just pushed it aside from a second, and decided to patronize a small business, and specifically Black owned businesses. I think it'd be really something. I kind of want to do a call to action and see how many people I could get to do that, and if it would change anything. But who knows? But those are just a few reasons specifically why I think supporting Black owned businesses is such an important. I don't want to say trend, because it shouldn't be a trend. It should be a thing that you do often, you know? And there's also just little ways. If you can't afford to buy something right now, follow them on social media. Add them to a list of places that you want to support in the future, and you're planning to, when you decide that you need a certain product, or you want to buy a gift for somebody. But also spread the word. You can tell people about them. Tell people that you saw this. Let's say a friend was looking for something, but like, oh, hey, I heard about this company. Happens to be a Black owned business, a smaller Black owned business. Direct them. Word of mouth is also the biggest way that small businesses and Black owned businesses are going to thrive, because they don't have the marketing dollars behind them to be in front of as many people as things like Amazon, or Walmart, or Target. It's also kind of the way it works in the music world. I, as an independent artist, I don't have the money behind me that a major label does. A lot of the fans that I have, and people that stream my music, it's been word of mouth, discovering me from somebody else. And to those fans that have felt that I was worthy enough to share my music with somebody else, I'll forever be indebted to them, because I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I sang something, wrote something, or recorded something that made a difference in your life that you felt the need to pay it forward and pass it on. So we need to do the same thing for these small businesses because we can make a difference in their life. We can. We can. And it's a simple thing. I spent time over the weekend following over 100 Black owned businesses on Instagram. And a lot of them sent me messages, and I just said, I support what you do. And I bought a few things for myself from some Black owned businesses, and I plan to do some more Christmas shopping for friends and family, sending them things that I know that they would like. There's certain products that I couldn't find from a Black owned business, which lets me know that there's a market out there for it to be created. Or maybe I just didn't Google hard enough. But I made it an attempt to make sure I did that. I also supported, a Black owned Jamaican food restaurant, which was delicious in Los Angeles. That's another thing. If you're on Uber Eats, I know that, I don't know how long it's going, but I know Black owned businesses right now, the delivery is free. Uber is covering all of that because they want to help patronize those businesses, which I think is fantastic. But that's another thing. Order food from a Black owned business. And Black people can throw down in the kitchen, so you don't even have to worry about the food being good. Just support the business. If you want to try something different, or if you know that you like a certain type of food, try to see if there's a Black owned business out there. I'm vegan. I've been vegan for 15, almost 16 years, and I've found so many Black owned vegan businesses that I've been able to patronize throughout this pandemic, and it's been really, really great. But the Jamaican food that we had the other day was bomb. Um, so, check out Uber Eats and see if they're still doing the Black owned business free delivery. I want to make sure, though, that when you are deciding to support these small businesses and support these Black owned businesses, that it is not a trend. I mean, when it comes to food, you eat every day of the year, right? So make the commitment to support a Black owned business, or even just a small business 2-3 times out of the week. If you eat out a lot, well, you're not eating out right now because we're in a pandemic. But if you're ordering out and you're ordering takeout, make that commitment. If you know that you're going to buy skincare, or you know that you want to buy fitness equipment, or you know that you want to get Etsy, stuff on Etsy artwork, seek out Black owned businesses. Seek them out. It is so important. We can't continue to make this notion of wanting to help Black owned businesses and help Black people move forward, and help Black people and help the culture and the community, and make a change and change the stereotypes and change the negative narratives and all that stuff if we're only supporting them Black History Month, only supporting them on Juneteenth, only supporting them when there's a blackout day, only supporting them when one of them dies. Make the commitment to do it on a regular basis, because we will start to change these narratives, and we will start to close those gaps, and we will start to make a difference in the lives of these young entrepreneurs. And we also will start to change how the Black communities are, not just in LA, not just in California, but all around the country. And that's what's important. Changing what the current narrative is. It starts with education, but if we start with education and then we're teaching people how to become entrepreneurs, we need to do the work to help fund them and help make them successful. And it doesn't take much. And even if you can't afford to buy something, like I said, social media is a beautiful thing. It's a horrible thing, and it's a beautiful thing. But for small businesses, a simple like makes a difference, because those numbers make a difference. As someone who does a lot of brand partnerships and influencer work, numbers matter. And I hate the numbers matter. But for those businesses and for people like me and people that are trying to achieve great things and get ahead in a world that is, pretty much, a country that's pretty much set up to not let them, a simple like, a simple share makes a difference. So my call to action for you guys this week is to support a Black owned business of any form. Like I said, restaurant, skincare, could be fitness. If you decide, if you've been doing, workout classes online, support a personal trainer, a session or a class or whatever. Share, or if you can't afford to take a class and they have videos on YouTube, share their stuff. Share someone's music, share someone's podcast, hint, hint. But, just support a Black owned business, support a Black artist, because all you are doing is uplifting them. And it doesn't take much. It's a very, very simple effort. But you guys are already doing that with me by listening, by sharing, by being a part of my community. And I thank God for you guys every day. So we got a couple episodes left of We Need to Talk. And then again, we'll be back in January. So again, call to action, support a Black owned business this week. And we'll talk to you again real soon.